Welcome to the channel. I'm Tony the Technician. Today we're going to be taking a look at the newer Gearwrench 120XP locking flex head ratchet, and we're going to be going over its specs, features, pricing, all of that good information. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about it, please feel free to drop a comment down below. I'll have it linked down in the description for you guys if you guys are interested in it. I put off buying this for quite a while because I already have close to 50 ratchets. I don't need any more, but I have a problem, and I was getting ready to purchase the 2 or 3 piece set a while back. Then Capri released their extra long locking flex head ratchet, so I decided to pick it up instead, got that 3-piece set. And now, a little while later, I decided to just go ahead and pick up the 1/4-inch drive because I've owned the 120XP ratchets for years, almost 10 years. I've had their non-flex head and their semi-locking flex head. And they redesigned the ratchet, a whole different profile, and they offered the 120XP in a locking design, which they didn't have before. So I really I had to get it. So in this video, we're going to be taking a close look at it. I'll tear it down so you guys can see the internals. We'll go over everything. And in the next video, we're going to be taking one of my 120XP 1/4-inch drive ratchets, the semi-locking flex head version, since they didn't offer it in the locking flex head. And we're going to be tearing them both down, and I'll share my thoughts on it with you guys. But in today's video, I do have some pros and cons to this new ratchet. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for the next video where we go more in depth of the new versus the old. But let's go ahead and take a close look at this ratchet. I really hope you guys enjoy. If you guys do, make sure to smash that thumbs up. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into this. So here we're looking at the Gearwrench 1/4-inch drive locking flex head, the 120XP. Going over this, you can get this individually. You can get other drive sizes as well. I have tons of ratchets though, so I just decided to pick this up because I like the 120XP. I like that they finally released it in the locking flex head. I like the new design from what I've seen. Even though I have too many ratchets, I figured I'd at least get one of them. But besides buying them individually, you can also buy them in sets as well. I picked this one up because it was on sale for, I believe, $32. It ranges between $32 and like $40 or $45, I want to say. And I thought $32 roughly for this was a good deal. So getting into this, the length overall is 7 inches. So it does have some decent length. It's not extra long, but it's not, you know, as short as your non-flex head 1/4-inch drive ratchets. It does have a nice chrome job on it. They did a really good job on it. Overall, I like what they've done as far as the design changes. I mean, everything about this ratchet has changed. The handle design, even not including the locking feature, the whole handle design has changed, as well as the head design. And then obviously they added the locking mechanism for this one. With all the Gearwrench stuff now, it's including, you know, the gold or orange on it in certain locations. This locking flex head has 9 different positions it can lock in. So when you go to this kind of 90-degree angle, it is the detent in here is spring loaded. So when you go to this position, you can't lock it, and it spring loads up into that next tooth. So that's the first position that you can lock it in. And then the locking mechanism is nice. It's not a spring loaded one where you push and release. It is stationary, so when you push it from the front, it's locked. When you push it from the bottom, it unlocks. And it has 9 different positions it can sit in. One of the first things I noticed is the Gearwrench switched to a sealed backing plate with the torque screws instead of the snap ring pliers, which we'll go more in depth in the next video where we break them both down. But I do like that they switched to that because my others with the snap ring do tend to get gunked up quite a bit more or more quickly than this design. With the handle change, I will say the handle itself is a little bit thicker, and they kind of went from this rounded portion to a flat here where it transitions into the lock, and then this base seems to be a little bit wider than the old design as well. But even though the handle is a little bit thicker, it's still very, very comfortable in the hand, and by no means is it, you know, extremely thick. It's just a little bit thicker than the previous generation. And while the handle is thicker, the head is actually smaller. So just real quickly, give you a measurement. So for the head length, you're looking at about 1 236,000ths of an inch. As far as width, it is quite a bit slimmer at 784 thousandths of an inch, 785 thousandths. So the head is pretty thin, and then it is thinner here as well at roughly 379 thousandths of an inch. Now, getting into some of the things that I like and dislike about this. The likes, I like the slimmer design. I like that they have now offered it with a locking mechanism. I like the backing plate, and I like the more narrow head design. The dislikes are going to be the lock slop. Now, I don't mean this mechanism here. The lock button works great. No issues with that whatsoever. It's when it's in a lock position, it doesn't matter what position you put it in, there is a lot of movement here. The plate that they use, which is basically like a V-cut plate, which wraps around the teeth in here. Either the teeth could have been bigger or the cut in the detent mechanism could have been a little bit tighter, and that would have taken up a lot of this slop. So while it's not a big deal, because once you get on a fastener and you're applying pressure, you know, a little bit of movement isn't, you know, shouldn't really affect anything. But I mean, that's just a lot of movement, and I checked it in all the positions. There's just a lot of movement there. It's more exaggerated with a long socket on there, but I mean, once it does get to that one side of the tooth or the other side of the tooth, I mean, it's solid. It's not going to slip off and go to the next tooth or anything like that, but just the amount of movement in here is a little bit more than I think there should be. And then the second thing is socket retention. While I like that it's very easy to, it basically feels broken in. It doesn't feel like the socket's gonna fall off by any means. Like the ball detent doesn't work. But I will tell you, the previous generation does have much stronger socket retention. I've used the previous generation for many years with quite a bit of use, and there's still more pressure on that socket. So the socket retention isn't the best, and there's quite a bit of movement in that head. So those are two things that I dislike about it. Is it going to keep me from using this ratchet? Absolutely not. Is it something that hinders the performance? No, not really. So I don't think it's an issue. Those are just two things that I noticed. So let's go ahead and tear this thing down really quickly so you guys can get a look at it. And the Torx are going to be a T8. And when you first get your ratchet, you may need to use ratchet to actually break these loose. There is blue Loctite on them, and when I went to go remove them originally, they were very snug. Normally when I get a ratchet, I can just use my bit socket and break the screws loose. There shouldn't be a whole ton of pressure or torque applied to those screws, and these things, they were in there really well. So there you can see the backing plate. It is lubricated very well. Still in the ratchet, this is going to have the 60 tooth main gear with dual pawls that alternate, creating 120 positions. I really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite ratchets. I get it. It's not for everybody. If that's not what you prefer, there's plenty of other ratchets on the market. But I really like this design. So I'm just going to hold the teeth down, remove the main gear. There you can see the fine teeth. It does look like there's a, I don't know if it's really focusing, but there is a rubber O-ring, I believe, right down there in between the square drive and the main gear. Nice smooth backing. And then there you can see the dual pawls. I'm just gonna leave that one in there. I don't know why it's not wanting to focus right now, but there are about 10 to 12 teeth on this gear. So definitely a lot of engagement, and it alternates with the other pawl that is in there. Seems like the quality of the inside of the ratchet is really clean as well. Let's go ahead and drop that back in there. There you can see the blue Loctite. And then when I'm putting these screws in, I do not over tighten them. I just use my bit socket and I just snug them up. I've never had an issue. Definitely don't want to over tighten them and destroy the screws. Here you can have a listen of the 120 XP mechanism. I like these because it's very low back drag, a lot of strength, low arc swing, 3-degree arc swing. And another thing I noticed, it does have a recessed reverse switch, but it is a little bit higher profile than the previous generation. But we're going to get into that in the next video, which should be released, you know, a couple days after this video, so you don't have to wait long for it. But that is my thoughts on the new 120 XP locking flex head ratchet. Stay tuned for the next video where we go into more detail. This is just kind of a first look, my thoughts on it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys are interested, this will be linked down in the description for you guys. But if you guys enjoyed, make sure to smash that thumbs up. And if you guys haven't yet, make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.